Oh my God, he's calling.
Why would he call? You guys just had sex.
It's probably a mistake. It's a mistake.
He's butt dialing you.
Hello?
Oh, hey there, it's Aaron.
Oh, this is Amy. I think you butt dialed me.
No, I dialed you with my fingers.
What's she saying?
He called me on purpose.
Hang up. He's obviously like sick or something.
Yeah, what's up?
I was calling to say I had a really good time last night. I was wondering if you wanted to hang out again.
Will you say that again, please?
I was wondering if I could see you again.
You know what? I'm gonna call the police.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll just talk to you about it tomorrow at the interview, okay?
Oh, yes. She said
Okay.
yes. She said yes.
Bye.
All right, I'll talk to you then.
Oh, man.
Huh?
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. You should know we had acrobatic cats on this stage just a couple hours ago, and there weren't this many people here for that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Sometimes people don't show up to this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more or less, never none.
Yes.
Yeah. Guys, congratulations on Trainwreck. It's my favorite movie of the summer that I've seen. I loved it. I thought it was so funny, and without kissing too much ass with you guys on the stage, it brought tears to my eyes at the end. It's so great. And I have to say, Judd, was that not on?
No.
I have to say, it follows a romantic comedy formula, but it adds so much honesty and truth to that it makes you believe in that formula again. How do you go about doing that? Do you just have that belief in that formula yourself, or is it something different?
Well, there's only so many ways to go in a romantic comedy or in any romantic movie. Usually, things work out because there's only two other choices. The other is they both say, "It's not our time." And the third way is one of them dies. So you have to try to come up with your original take of one of those three and keep it engaging and look for new ways to tell these type of stories. But we all want to fall in love. We all want to be happy. And so they're always great movies when they work well.
The jokes land. Every joke lands. Do you think that is what makes the sort of the old romantic story believable? It's what brings people in. It's what makes them really have faith in these characters rather than just thinking of them as romantic comedy characters?
Well, I think people like when the movies work and are funny. That helps, but most important, I think, is that Bill and Amy have great chemistry together, and that when you watch them, you believe it, and you feel like, oh, they kind of do fit as a couple, and you see what's wrong with them and what they're trying to get over, and you root for that to happen.
That's not Amy. That's Vanessa.
Bill and I have horrible chemistry. So.
Horrible.
Vanessa, this is I think your and Amy's first feature film, right?
Yes.
So how did you get involved with this? How did you get involved with Judd?
Well, I auditioned for this movie, and I had met Judd a couple times before, but I auditioned for this movie, and that was my first time meeting Amy, was at the audition, and we read some lines together, and we improvised some stuff together, and it was just really, what is funny?
What was the thing you did about a woman who had a dream?
Bill, you have a microphone. This is show business.
Well, and there was kind of like, anyway, so that's how it started, but then we improvised a lot during the, I just feel like, it's like I said that I didn't want to sit next to Bill, and
Yeah.
But anyway, so we did some of the scenes together, and we improvised together, and then that's how I got involved, and then I found out that I got the part like, I don't know, a couple months later or something.
I knew instantly, but I wanted to make you wait for a while.
Yeah, they did the same thing to me. I didn't know I had it. And then Amy Schumer texted me, "Yay." And I wrote back, "Yay what?" And then she texted back, "Oh shit." So I found out I got the movie.
Did you have to audition for the film as well? I mean, you were in Knocked
Yeah.
Up, so you had to audition as well. Judd,
Yeah.
you know these people. You've worked with Bill before. What is it about auditioning with Bill that you felt like you needed to do?
Yeah, why did I have to audition for the movie?
I doubted him. I didn't know if he was capable of this.
Right. No, I know.
And I wanted to test him. I always hear about people auditioning people like a zillion times. Like, I went back in 11 times for John Landis or something, which I always
John
think,
Landis.
Notorious
Yeah,
audition.
John Landis notoriously.
But I really wanted to make sure that you believed Amy and Bill as a couple, and I wanted to make sure that they had some sort of dynamic between them, because there are hilarious people and people you love that make awful couples. We see it all the time in movies. So I just wanted to see if it felt right, and Bill came in and did an audition, and then he was the only person that we screen tested, and so we actually
I didn't know
shot
that.
a scene.
But they flew me out to New York and we shot a scene together. Amy and I did, and then and I had, like Vanessa, had met Amy at the audition, and then Judd took us to Babbo. And
The restaurant.
I didn't know you went there.
Yeah,
That's such a
the
nice
restaurant. Yeah.
The restaurant that
Babbo
if we
in
mention
some weird
might give me
country
a seat.
someplace. And then he made us have like a date together. Like Judd just
Like
sat
in front of you?
Yeah. So
I
Amy
like
and
to
kinda
watch.
awkwardly sat across from each other, going like, "So, I know John Mulaney. You know John Mulaney?" And she's like, "Yeah, I know John for a long time." And then Judd would just then take a picture of us. It's like, all right, this is good. And then you walked around the girls' season 3 premiere party, just showing pictures to like Lena Dunham, like, "Would you want to see these two people have sex with each other? You think these people? Will you buy them as a couple? You know?"
Wait, did you actually do that last part there?
Yeah. Can you imagine them doing it? But look how adorable and beautiful they
My
are.
daughter saw that poster. It's all over LA, and my daughter said, "That lady's cutting in front of Daddy in line." You're 5 years old. That's what it's all about. Dear Diary.
Judd, do you find that improvising on set ends up helping you find a truth to the characters and the story that you weren't expecting before? I always find with your movies that suddenly in the middle of the comedy, someone like Leslie in Knocked Up saying something along the lines of like, you just critique them until eventually they kind of give in and then they thank you for it. Yes. It just rings suddenly so true in the middle of this comedy. Do you find that improvising leads you there, or do you have these truths first that you find ways to sort of sparse out throughout the film?
Well, when I was a producer at the Larry Sanders Show, they didn't improvise a lot on film, but there were 3 days of rehearsal for every episode. And when they loosened it up, just magical things would happen between them. And so I noticed for the comedy and the drama that when you allow people to go off page, sometimes it's an amazing joke, sometimes it's just a deep thought or a moment of connection, and it changes the way they act when they're not sure if the other person's going to say their line. And so usually what we do is a few takes that is the script. And then we say, okay, let's loosen it up a little bit. And then I think people just act better because they're not just trying to memorize this thing and do it perfectly. And sometimes they don't even change the lines, but they listen differently because they're a little scared the other person is going to take a leap. And then it just feels more real.
When you had those scenes, did you want to say?
I was just going to say, and the thing that was fun about improvising with this movie, too, was like, then we'd start improvising something, and then Judd would like yell out something that was like along the lines of what we were already improvising, and he'd have all these great suggestions. So it was like, he was even, like the way that he would kind of direct us while we were improvising, too, was really cool. You know, so you felt safe, like, trying stuff, and then also you were like,
yeah, and even in the scenes that weren't comedy, even, Judd, to your point, he's very, he's interested in being funny, but he also wants it to be honest and true, and he's really interested in people, and what makes people work. It's like a Cassavetes type thing, really getting deep with somebody, and you feel that of this kind of, it's very liberating to not always have to be like, what's the best joke, what's this, it's like, what's the honest moment in this scene, I don't have to be funny, what's true for this guy, and he encourages you to go there, which is nice.
You come off as, I would say in the film, as not very flawed at all. Like, I love your character, and I related to Amy's character a lot more because I would be the one in the fight who's like, screw it, I'm out. I don't want to do this.
Well,
that's it.
Well, you're lost.
You're such a patient, your character is such a patient, sweet guy, and you're talking about improvising and finding these things that maybe you relate to more. Do you find that you're a lot like your character?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
No.
I am a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually more my wife is a very patient person. There's a scene in the movie where Amy and I get in this long fight where she keeps me up in this argument. And I'm more Amy in that thing where I want to talk things out. And my wife is so patient that it's infuriating. It drives me crazy how she's like, okay. Like, she's just so patient with me. And we talked about that in rehearsals. And it was that, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, you'll talk about something from your life. And then Judd goes, well, why don't we just do that? Like, that's interesting. Like, try that. Like, let's see that, you know? And then that then morphs into something else. And then, but it's coming from an honest place, you know?
Yeah. Do you find when you're doing those rehearsals, those things are coming from an honest place that, I mean, how do you sort of bridge the gap between that's Bill's honesty and this is the honesty of the story itself?
Well, the whole time you're trying to, figure out what feels real, because it is this bizarre combination of what Bill and Amy are like, and then things that work for the movie and things that work for these created characters, which is just partially what Bill and Amy are like. But every once in a while, there is a detail from your life that makes it in. There's a moment where they get into a fight and Bill falls asleep in the middle of the fight, and that happened to me once with Leslie, where she was talking, and I just fell unconscious in the middle of it.
We were doing that, and Judd said, "Bill, fall asleep," and I knew that it was from your life.
Like, you knew that as a guess, or you knew that he had heard that before?
In my head, I was like, I'm sure he's done this before, and I fell asleep.
Sometimes that's the only way you can win the argument.
Yeah.
Is to be unconscious.
I tried it. It doesn't work because my wife won't argue back.
Vanessa, I watched, and I mean this in the most loving way possible. I watched Knocked Up over the weekend.
Oh, boy.
No, I know. Great
That's always the
preface.
nicest
Great
thing.
preface there. But I watched Knocked Up over the weekend, and that was 2007, and that was Kristen Wiig, just to show she was reaching a sort of peak at SNL, and she's kind of doing something that we were getting used to her doing on SNL in Knocked Up. And I sort of felt that, I was like, as I was watching, I was like, oh, this is like Vanessa in Trainwreck. This is like the next thing for her. You're doing something similar to characters that you do on SNL, and you're doing it in this big Judd Apatow movie. Did you feel that at all? Did you ever think about that? Did anyone else ever bring that up to you?
One or two people has said that to me, and that's the nicest thing, because I love Kristen so much, and to be like, compared to her character in that, or in any way, is like such a compliment. But yeah, it didn't really cross my mind, but I guess that's my whole answer.
That's great.
It crossed my mind. I saw Kristen on Saturday Night Live, and she was so funny. Like day one, like the first episode she was on, she was killing. And so we had a character Alan Tudyk was playing, which was Katherine Heigl's boss at the E! Channel. And then we just said, I think it'd be funny if there was like another person there. And so in the script, there literally was not a female in the scene. And I said, we'll just play with Kristen. And so everything that she did in all those scenes was bizarre improvisations.
Yeah, just so judgy and
So
weird.
funny.
And
She didn't like pregnancy because it's all wet.
yeah,
and,
sure.
you
But it was so underplayed, and you just barely contained. It was really funny.
But a lot of times, like in the casting of the movies, I feel like I'm trying to show who I think should be giant movie stars.
That's what I mean. That's what it felt like. I mean, just to reiterate, I didn't think that you were doing a Kristen Wiig thing at all.
No, I didn't think
I-
you were.
that's
But
what I thought you
it
said.
felt like the sort of it felt like the sort of the Apatow setup for the next thing.
Yes. It's the Jay Baruchel and Knocked Up is a setup for the dragon cartoon.
The dragon cartoon.
When you go into casting, you have your two leads, but I've heard you talk about this a little bit before, that you're looking for people that really want to play and really want to work and get down to the nitty-gritty, and that's why you're not so interested in casting the biggest names possible, the biggest celebrities possible.
Clearly, look at our poster.
Well, there are people who are famous and
No, Bill, what do you got? You got
No, I got nothing, buddy. You're great. I'm joking.
No, I mean, there are people who've made a lot of movies who we've worked with who are incredible improvisers and very giving. I mean, John Lithgow and Albert Brooks and This Is 40, created those characters with me, and we're a gigantic part of it. But there is something fun about working with people where it's their first movie or one of their first movies, because they're just so excited to be there, and they give a lot and they care a lot, and I just like that moment with people.
And Judd's such a huge fan of comedy, and I mean, I'm the same thing. Like my first day as an actor on a movie set was Knocked Up. I showed up and I have a trailer. This is crazy. You know what I mean? And then Superbad and Pineapple Express, all these things that, I feel very grateful that I'll just get that call of, you know, do you want to play this weird guy from the 20s getting experimented on in Pineapple Express? And I asked Rogan, like, what's this scene have to do with the movie? And he's like, I don't know. The ending takes place there.
You know, you worked with Lena now. You work with Kristen. You work with Amy Schumer. It's a cliche, hackneyed question, and I think it's sort of unnecessary all the time when people ask you, when did you change or when did you evolve to want to work with women? But it just seems to me that you want to work with the funniest people, yet for whatever reason, the public can't help get over the fact that some of those funniest people are women.
I never really thought about it in those terms. I really thought about who has a vision for themselves and what they want to do. The first job I had in show business of note was I wrote Roseanne Barr's act with her stand-up act for a year.
Talk about that.
A lot happened during that year. That was the year of the national anthem incident. I used to go to her house on Sunday mornings, and we would write jokes around her breakfast table. And then I would hear about all the other things that were happening at the show and in the world. And she was such a genius and had so many ideas. And I was really just helping her shape all of the jokes that she already had. So I've always thought that, you know, they were amazing people. And, you know, my favorite Saturday Night Live character was always, star was always Gilda Radner. And in my head, I thought, why aren't there like 10 amazing Gilda Radner movies? And I feel like all these women are doing what I wish happened with Gilda Radner, which is they're the writers and the directors and the producers, and they're grabbing the reins of their careers. And it's just an honor to be able to help them in that process. But I don't really do it because they're women. I do it because it's the same reason why I loved working on Superbad with Seth and Evan. It's just funny people who I want to see their movie. I want to see a Seth Rogen movie. I want to see, you know, an Amy Schumer movie.
It's so weird. It's one of those things that I feel like the media tells the story, or the way people sort of assume the story goes is that, like, you guys are on set all day being like, we're making a movie for women today. When it's like, you're probably not necessarily doing that.
You don't say, this is a funny women joke.
Yeah.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't think about the political part about it. Like when we did Bridesmaids, all we thought was, wow, Kristen was so funny and knocked up, and then she was in Walk Hard, and we just thought, she's hilarious. There needs to be a movie that she's the star of. And then I just said, you got any ideas? And she said, oh, me and Annie have this idea for Bridesmaids movie. But we didn't think, oh, this is a woman movie. We just thought, oh, we're doing a movie with a wig. This is going to be amazing.
Have you done that with Vanessa yet? Because I'd like to see her
Boy.
movie.
Come on, Vanessa, where is it?
Well,
Where's the draft?
I have a couple ideas, and
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Can I hear the pitch right now?
Yes.
Let's hear some details.
No, I mean, it's just like, it's whatever. It's,
Boy, everybody's settling.
we'll get into it, but we only
I
have
was really
3
dying for that pitch.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear it.
Yeah, but it's...
But that is how it starts. You just say to your friends, well, you know, what do you have? And some people really like crank it out. And they, you know, writing is a completely different, different part of everybody's career. And it's separate from the performance thing because you just have to go in a room alone for a year and try to create a world. And the one thing that Amy did that was amazing was she worked so damn hard, and she wrote the draft really fast. I gave her notes. She wrote another draft in like 2 weeks. I gave her more notes. She wrote another draft in 4 days, and she was very devoted to making it happen.
One of the hardest working people I've ever met. She would do this show. She would do this movie, and there's a scene where it was beautiful scenes. If you've seen the film, I mean, real amazing. She's like this classically trained actress who decided to do stand-up. You know, it's like she's amazing.
Which I didn't know. And
I didn't
think
know
a lot
that
of
either
people
until
don't
we
know that
started
about her.
doing-
She's like, knows how to act.
She's
like,
a classically trained actress, and she just was like, I guess I'll do stand-up, and now she's Amy Schumer. And so and so we did this scene, and I would go, wow, this is so amazing. And if I did that scene, I would just go home and curl up in a ball. You know, it was a very emotional scene in the film. I don't want to give anything away. And she went up to the Comedy Cellar and did stand-up and was working on her stand-up act. And I was like, geez, what the?
Did you feel like you went to
I'm
places?
the worst.
You went to places emotionally that you haven't gone to before in doing this movie?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a scene in it. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but yeah. I mean, just as far as just dealing with people you're in and accepting people that you're in love with, you know, and everything that comes with that, which I related to and worked really hard with Judd and Amy and to find these moments, which was cool in a big comedy, studio comedy, that was the conversation, which I thought was really lucky. I felt so lucky being in the movie.
Vanessa, your character is probably one of the best depictions of a New York coworker I've ever seen. The coworker who is your friend and cares about you, but will step on you to get past you if they have to. Like, I think everybody knows all of their friends at work are like that.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
people at AOL, everyone's at their cubicles right now, like.
Sorry.
Thanks, dude.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, without giving too much of the movie away, I think I don't necessarily see that for her. Like, I don't want to give anything away. So, but
Vanessa is a ghost at the end of the movie. There, I said it.
But I think New York is a place where, like, things are very amplified, and like, those kinds of work decisions happen all the time, and that things play out in a way that, like, maybe, I'm from Cleveland and things are a lot like
Nothing.
calmer.
No one applauded.
Where are you
the
from?
Cleveland thing. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah. So they're fake clapping.
Yeah, I was just saying, none of you are from Tulsa. I don't.
People in Tulsa don't even clap that loud for Tulsa.
That's how we knew. Like,
oh man, dang, that's right. That's right, we're here.
all right, let's take some questions from the audience.
Hello. I have a question for Judd. I'm actually reading your book right now.
What's it called?
Sick in the Head.
And it's in bookstores.
Bookstores everywhere. Yes. So my question is, like, as a aspiring comedian, I always have like the fear that I'm like gonna be a really good comedy fan, but like not a good comedian. So I'm just kind of wondering what your process was like at a young age, like the input and then the output, and like balancing like research and absorbing everything, but then also creating your own work.
Well, one of the reasons why I used to do interviews with comedians starting when I was 15 is I just wanted to ask them those questions, and that's why I put the book together, because I thought, this is the book I wish someone had written when I was 15, because it's filled with interviews with people like Seinfeld and Louis C.K. and Chris Rock and Lena Dunham and Amy about their process, but also about their lives and how they think they got here emotionally in addition to just creatively. But I think comedy is always trial and error, and you just have to do it a lot. And what helped me was a lot of comedians said, it'll take you 7 years to find yourself. And I thought, wow, that's a really long time. And it forced me to be patient and to understand that it was a process to learn how to do it, and you had to commit yourself and know, like, it's going to be painful for a while, and then slowly you start understanding how to do it. But you can make things now. I mean, when I was a kid, you couldn't make a video and put it on Funny or Die. I mean, you could make videos. It doesn't cost anything. So it's a very different world, and you should take advantage of the fact that you can always be making something.
You have another question?
My question is for Vanessa. I've been watching you on SNL for years, and I love you. I think it's fantastic. How has that experience helped you kind of create the roles that you play, like Nikki in Trainwreck?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's just, on SNL you're really lucky because you get to you get to play a lot of different characters and stuff, and kind of explore what you can do and what different kind of like voices and attitudes you can have and stuff. And so I think with Nikki, it was just, it just kind of was like, what would this person be like, sort of, and also I think that subtle stuff doesn't work a lot on SNL. Like, a lot of times you have to do like really big things. So this was a really cool opportunity that you could kind of do. Not everything had to be so big and stuff. And so in some ways, like obviously the experience at SNL helps with everything, but in other ways it was like kind of nice to like go away from that and be doing something a little smaller. Because also like the shots are, it's a quieter thing.
Yeah, and you have more than one take, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes the one takes are the best takes. SNL, right? The one takes are the best takes?
Yeah.
Usually at dress rehearsal and then the live
dress
show.
rehearsal. If you have a good dress rehearsal, you're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, that went so well. But,
Oh, no, I'll never go that good again. That sucks.
You guys should have seen it before. It was good.
Wish you guys were there. I guess you weren't.
Question.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. I got to see an advanced screening of the movie. Everybody needs to go see it Friday. It's that good.
Thank you.
Vanessa, Bill, killed it. This question's for Judd. Going back to the casting, to me, one of the most pleasant surprises of the film was actually John Cena. We know him in the WWE as a former champion. What a natural. I mean, what was the moment where you were like, this guy has to be in your film?
I wasn't that familiar with John because I stopped watching wrestling along the end of the era of Bruno Sammartino. But he auditioned like anybody else, and I didn't. You know, they said, "Oh, some wrestlers read for this," and then so I didn't think, "Oh my God, he read for this." I just thought, "This guy is insanely funny." And then we did a table read, and everyone from the cast was there, and he got bigger laughs than everybody in the movie.
Destroyed it.
Yeah.
Everything. He would be like, "Sorry, babe," and the place would lose it. But I would get texts those days, because I wouldn't work those days, and I would get texts from him and Amy. Everybody with just quotes of just stuff that John was improvising, and it was unreal.
Yeah, no, he's really talented and crazy funny. And he calls me sir, and I like it.
He calls you sir. Did you ever ask him not to?
No, he's just, I like to say, "Hey, John, it's great seeing you at the premiere." "Thank you, sir, for the opportunity."
Yeah,
And,
that's how he is.
And as like a nerdy Jewish guy, I feel like, yeah, this is what I wanted my life to be.
Yeah.
But he's one of the great guys. Like we
He's one
love
of the
him.
nicest guys in the world.
Yeah.
He's
Very
so
happy for him.
sweet. Did a very good job in the movie. Yeah, he's very nice. Very nice guy.
We have any more questions?
Hi. This question could be for all three of you. Do you have any favorite stories about improvised moments in movies that went terribly right or terribly wrong?
Terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. I'm sure I've watched Bill crash out a couple of times.
Oh yeah, a lot. I mostly crash out.
For the clip that they showed when Amy and I are on the couch, I think you got a little annoyed with us that day. Maybe a little mad at us because we kept breaking and ruining good shots.
that's right. Yeah.
I break a lot. I don't know if you've watched SNL, but I break a lot. We had this scene with Bridget Everett in this film, who's unbelievably funny, and I couldn't get through it. It was her and Tim Meadows, and I just could not. She started off the thing by going, "Do you watch National Geographic? Well, then you've probably have seen me." And I was like, I thought I was going to throw up. Every single word out of her mouth made me laugh so hard, and Judd just screamed at us. He was like, "Guys, come on, we have more stuff to shoot." And I was like, So I am the worst at that, but I can't think of anything where you improvised it and everybody just went, ugh.
Yeah, but it's funny. I went to watch them shoot Curb Your Enthusiasm once because I wanted to understand how he was shooting all of this improvisation. And I went to the set, and Larry David was nice enough to explain what they were doing. And I said to him, "Has anyone ever just gone blank and just completely crashed?" And he's like, "No, never happened." And then I watched the guy have nothing.
Yeah.
And it completely wiped out. And I felt like I cursed it somehow. And then I saw the show, and the guy I saw was hysterical on the show. But most of the time, it's not really about things working or not working because we just get a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't even judge it in the moment. We just steer it a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of times you do something when the thing that makes everyone laugh the hardest doesn't end up in the movie. You know what I mean? A lot of times, like the thing that the crew's laughing or everyone's quoting, or like it's just like a little thing that no one cares about. But I know, there's something in Superbad where I yelled out McLovin why when he runs away, and it was this thing that everyone laughed at, and for the whole shoot, we were like, McLovin why, and all that stuff. It was like buried in the sound mix way in the background. Like, no one, you know what I mean? Like, because it's not that funny.
One more question?
Last question.
Hi. Well, first of all, Judd, we briefly interacted on Twitter. It was very exciting for me.
talking
It's
about...
the guy!
It's me,
It's the guy!
finally.
It's the guy I sent the naked photo to.
Hey!
Which I really enjoyed. But we talked about Steely Dan and how much I love them. But
Well, we'll leave you
that's
two
the-
alone. No, I'm joking.
for you three, it's sort of a question for all three of you. Judd, you occupy, it seems like, a space that maybe someone like James L. Brooks occupied in the 80s or 90s, where sort of an overseer and mentor for a lot of comedy, but also shepherding your own projects and directing and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, within that context, if you have some movies that you would share, like that were some of your favorites within that kind of universe of comedy when you were coming up that really affected you. And for Bill and Vanessa coming through SNL, if there were people, cast members and skits and stuff like that that really influenced you and made you want to be a part of the show and get into comedy. So,
Well, James Brooks is somebody who, is the greatest. There's nobody greater than him. I mean, I was talking to someone about this today. He was producing Mary Tyler Moore. I think that show started in 1970 or maybe even 1969. And before that, and at the same time, Room 222. And so it's coming upon 50 years that the entire time he's had amazing shows. He produces The Simpsons now. So everything from like Room 22 to The Simpsons has been James Brooks, in addition to all of the amazing movies. So he was someone that I always looked up to, and I feel like in a lot of ways by watching Taxi and all of those shows, it's what wired my brain. And then I heard, and he produced Say Anything and Jerry Maguire and Big. I like that idea that you could have that kind of career where you make your movies and you help people with their movies. And I always loved all of Norman Lear's work and All in the Family and Larry Gelbart's work, MASH, and Cameron Crowe. I watched the long cut of Almost Famous. There's like a director's cut, which I think is one of the great movies of all time. And I think those are the main people I think of, in addition to Gary Shandling, who really taught me everything that I know from working at the Larry Sanders Show.
As far as people at SNL, Phil Hartman was a big guy for me. He was the guy that I really loved. Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer. I saw that when I was like 9, and my parents didn't get it. And I was laughing so hard at the idea of that the guy was using the fact that he was a caveman to curry favor from the jury, to get sympathy from the jury. I just thought that is the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And I just like that my first meeting with Lorne Michaels, he says, he's like, what cast did you grow up with? And I said, well, Phil Hartman was, and Dana Carvey and John Lovitz, but Phil Hartman was the guy. Remember, even in those, we're watching the Matt Foley sketches with Chris Farley, the Van Down by the River guy, and we watched and we laughed, and I remember my dad saying, but look at Phil Hartman. And Phil Hartman's the dad, and he's a straight guy, but he's so committed to being the dad that it made everything funnier because he was so committed. He wasn't just watching a guy being funny, he was engaged. And I was like, I want to be that.
Yeah, I was going to say the Chris Farley Van Down by the River. My whole family was so into that. My dad still says like son of a all the time. I don't think or which I guess is maybe Tommy Boy, but like we were so into Chris Farley. And yeah, that was my cast too. I also like, when I used to watch it, it was when Melanie Hutzel would do Tori Spelling. And that, I would do that impression for my friends. Like, I just thought that was, and like Pat, and when Julia Sweeney did Pat and stuff. Like, my friends and I would just like do that for each other, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy going to SNL 40th because we got to meet all those people and they were all there. And there was this amazing moment at the end of the show where it ended, but just writers and cast from the whole era, the whole 40 years. We were the only people in the studio after the show ended, and we were all talking, and we got to meet.
It's just
we
crazy.
got to meet everybody, and I got emotional meeting all these people. I was like, oh my God, you've changed my life, or whatever. And no, it was so cool.
It was so great, and to see like Adam Sandler dressed as Opera Man and stuff, it's like
it was so crazy.
You're there, it's still, you're so honored and everything, but
it's not like, I worked at you can't believe you're there.
It's different because you're like, these are the people that this is the same thing. Like, it's just was crazy.
And they're freaked out that person's here, and this person's freaked, what I mean? Well, like Will Ferrell's like, Dan Aykroyd's here, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's freaking out, and it's very, Gilbert Gottfried came up to me and we looked. I'd never met him before, and we looked at each other and went, "Hi," and we looked at each other and he goes, "Yes, it's like we have the same disease."
Well, guys, thank you so much. Trainwreck.
Thank you.
Thank you.